Hi, my name's Emma Cook. I'm the Tiny Turner. I am a professional wood turner from England. In this video, we are going to make a traditional English style carver's mallet. So an English style is slightly different to the European style of carving mallet because we make it in two sections. So the head is made from a nice hard timber such as beech or a fruit wood like apple, and the handle we use ash a lot of the time. The headpiece needs to be turned from essentially a cross grain blank. So this is a spindle blank, but we are going to be mounting it on these two faces, so it will be spinning like this. And the reason for that is we want the end grain to be where we are hitting with the mallet, so it makes it nice and hard. For size, the head of the mallet needs to be about 100mm in square section and about 100mm deep, so a 100mm cube. The handle can be about 40mm in section, and keep the handle nice and long so that you can make it to the size that suits you. So the length is fine, but you can use a smaller section. The last piece we need is a wedge, which I will explain more when it comes to using this. So we will find the center. So this is now mounted as a cross grain blank, so it's really important that we use a ball gouge for turning this. And we're just going to turn it round, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the shape once we've turned that round. Turn it around, cut the tenon off, put it on those jaws. Yeah, I remember. I remember how to make one. Okay, so once we've rounded the timber, we're going to put a tenon on each end and put it into the chuck. We're then going to use a Jacob's chuck with a Forstner bit to drill a hole. And the reason we need two tenons is because we go from one direction, turn it round, and go from the other end. And then we will shape the mallet head. We're now going to drill from one end with an inch to an inch and a quarter or a 25 to 30mm Forstner bit. So we're going to turn the speed right down, and then we're going to drill halfway, turn the piece round and drill from the other end. So we'll turn this round, do the same again. That's all you're left with in the middle. So now we're going to shape the head. We want it slightly rounded on that front face, and then we want it to taper away towards the chuck. And we're going to stick to the ball gouge for this turning. bit of decoration. So I'm going to give this a quick sand. A lot of mallets we don't bother sanding, we leave a tool finish because you want a little bit of roughness on the grain so that when you hit the tool handle it doesn't slide off. So now we need to turn this round to finish the back of this, and we need to figure out how to hold it. So we're going to use these jaws so that we can hold it from that hole. So I'll change chucks and we'll turn it round. Okay, this is now finished and we can now turn the handle. I always turn this first so you can fit the handle to the head. This is a spindle blank, so we can use a spindle roughing gouge to round it off. Now we can mark out the handle. This is very long for a handle. We're going to take quite a lot off the end of this. But the most important thing is marking out the head. So we need 10mm at the end here, so 10mm extra, and then mark the back of the head. And the rest of it is completely individual. Keep checking it with your hand if you are making it for you so that it fits your hand. So we're going to begin by reducing this in diameter and then we can shape the handle. If you want a depth guide, take a parting tool and set your calipers to the correct diameter for the hole you've drilled in the head. So once you've got your depth guide, you can take all that section down to the same diameter, and that should fit inside the mallet head. So check that with your calipers. Once you've turned this down in diameter, just double check with your calipers that it will all fit inside the head of the mallet. And now we can shape the handle. The length of the mallet depends on your hand size. If you have large hands, you need a longer mallet, and if you have small hands, you need a shorter mallet. The end of the mallet should sit there on your wrist bone when you are holding it. If I hold that there, that is approximately the length of handle for my hand. So we'll shape this area and this will be parted off. There's only so much you can do with a roughing gouge, so I'm now going to change back to a ball gouge and continue to shape this. This needs to be a lot slimmer, so we're going to take more of this down and we're going to just refine the shape. Forgetting about that bit. So when you've got a shape that you're happy with and you've taken some of the diameter down, you now need to start to test the handle. So just hold it, see if it feels comfortable. This is still too large for me. Don't worry if the handle diameter ends up smaller than this, it's still very strong. Mine are always thinner than the part going inside the mallet, and I haven't broken one yet, touch wood. This is starting to get in the way a little bit now, so we can reduce this in diameter so that we can start to shape the end of the mallet, and that, yeah. So we'll do that next. So one more test, I'm pretty happy with that. The bottom of the mallet is on my wrist bone. So I'm just going to take a spindle gouge just to finish off these areas, and that is ready to sand and part off. So now that's sanded, we can just part this off. We don't sand this area. You want to leave that rough so that it will help hold it in place. And then I'll show you how to put it together. Just gonna go back to the spindle gouge just for that bit there. Turning the speed right down. There we go. And then just a little bit of hand sanding to finish that off. So now we've finished turning the head and the handle, we can now put this together. So you want to make sure, first of all, that everything fits, and then you will need a wedge. The wedge needs to be the same diameter as the hole in the head, and you want it to be a very long wedge that's tapered very gently. We're then going to take the handle and we're going to cut a slot all the way down there on the bandsaw. But make sure that you cut across the grain. Don't cut the same direction of the grain because you can split the whole handle when you put the wedge in. So cut it that way. If you want, you can put the oil on the head and the handle. I do that once it's put together. You can also put some glue on here if you feel happier to do that, but normally you put the handle into the head, push the wedge in, and then use another hammer. So stand it on a hard surface and with a hammer or a mallet, tap that wedge into all as far down as it will go. So there we go. To remove this, you can cut it off on the bandsaw, or you can put a sanding disc into the lathe and just sand the top of this down. So that is what we will do. So the last stage now is to just put some oil on, or sanding sealer, whatever finish you want. I tend to only use oil or sanding sealer just to protect it. Please make sure that you subscribe and like the... Let me say it again. I hope you've enjoyed the video on the carver's mallet. Even if you aren't a carver, these are very useful tools to have in your workshop, so I hope you have a go at making one. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to come back and have a look at our others. Thank you for joining us. See you soon.